In this video, we'll talk about Amelia Earhart, a girl with big dreams and how she was the first woman to fly solo across the Pacific. She was born in 1897, somewhere in Kansas, just a small town, regular kind of place. Honestly, nothing about her beginning screamed history maker. But that's the thing with stories like this, the quiet beginnings often lead to the loudest legacies. Now, Amelia wasn't your typical little girl. While other kids were playing house or brushing doll hair, she was climbing trees, chasing stray dogs, and building wild contraptions in her backyard. One time, she even made a little homemade roller coaster using planks of wood and a wooden box. Seriously. She jumped off the roof of her tool shed, landed hard, crashed, and got up laughing. She called it her first flight. She had this curiosity, like she was always looking for something more than what was in front of her. And growing up, life wasn't always smooth. Her dad had issues with alcohol, and the family moved around a lot because of it. Sometimes things were okay, and sometimes they were not. But Amelia didn't really complain. She just kept pushing forward. There was however one particular moment that changed her life. She was in her early 20s, living in California, and she went to this airfield with her father. She wasn't expecting much, just tagging along. But then a plane came down from the sky, flying low, real low, and it felt like it was coming straight at her. Most people would have flinched or jumped, but for Amelia? She stood there, still, watching, like she was challenging the plane, unafraid of it. And something clicked. Right then, deep down, she knew. She wanted to fly. She had to fly. That was her destiny. But it didn't look possible. Flying back then wasn't a thing women really did. It was expensive, it was dangerous, and it was totally a man's world. But Amelia didn't care. She saved up money doing all kinds of random jobs, working as a truck driver, a photographer, even helping out as a nurse during World War I. Every penny she saved brought her closer to the sky. Eventually, she got her first flying lesson. And when she got in that little yellow plane and lifted off the ground, it was all worth it. That was it. She found her place. Not just in the air, but in life. She wasn't trying to be famous. She just loved to fly. That's where it all started. So Amelia Earhart was officially hooked. Flying wasn't just a hobby for her, it became this deep thing that she couldn't stop thinking about. Like once she got that taste of the sky, the ground just didn't feel the same anymore. But everything didn't fall into place. You know, flying back then wasn't cheap. Planes weren't just lying around waiting for dreamers to show up. And women pilots? Almost unheard of. The whole system was built around men, for men. But that didn't scare Amelia off. Actually, it kind of lit a fire in her. She worked like crazy to save up for more lessons. Every odd job you can think of, she did it. Filing paperwork, working the phones, even driving a truck. Eventually, she bought her own plane. A bright yellow Canary Airster that she nicknamed the Canary. It wasn't fancy. It was noisy, kind of clunky, and honestly, probably a bit scary to fly, but to Amelia, it was perfect. It was hers. It was freedom. She started entering small flying competitions, just little ones at first. But word started to spread. People noticed her. A young woman in the skies? That wasn't something you saw every day. She didn't just fly, she flew with purpose, with this cool, calm confidence that made people stop and watch. And while all that was happening, she wasn't just chasing her own dream, she was also opening doors for other women. She wasn't loud about it, but she made it clear that flying wasn't just for men in leather jackets. If she could do it, why not someone else? In 1928, something big happened. Amelia got a call that would change her life, literally. A team was putting together the first ever transatlantic flight with a woman on board. Not as a pilot, though. As a passenger. Now, that might sound like a letdown, right? She wouldn't be flying the plane, just riding in it. But Amelia said yes. Because even being on that plane meant something. It meant women could be part of something big. And she knew that if she got her foot in the door, she could kick it open wider next time. The flight was long and tough, cold, loud. The kind of journey that tests your nerves. But they made it. And when they landed in England, Amelia Earhart was officially the first woman to cross the Atlantic by air. Even though she hadn't piloted the plane, people were amazed. Reporters swarmed her. Headlines popped up overnight. She was suddenly famous, and just like that, her quiet dream became a very public one. But here's the thing, Amelia didn't let the fame get to her head. She wasn't in it for the flash or the praise. She wanted to earn her place. So while the world was celebrating, she was already thinking about what came next. Because yeah, being the first woman to cross the Atlantic was cool, but now she wanted to fly it, alone. She didn't just want to be famous, she wanted to do something that mattered, something bold, something that would prove, without question, that she was more than just the face of a good story. That was why she set her sights on flying across the Atlantic again, but this time, alone. No co-pilot, no fanfare, just her, a plane, and a whole lot of ocean. Think about how wild that was at the time. This was 1932. Planes weren't the smooth, press-a-button-and-go machines they are today. They were loud, shaky, and honestly kind of terrifying. And here was Amelia, saying, yeah, I'll fly one of these across the Atlantic, by myself. Everyone thought she was brave, or crazy. Maybe both. She planned it carefully. She knew the risks. Weather, engine failure, getting lost over nothing but ocean for hours, it could all go wrong. And the thing is, it did go wrong. A lot of it. The night of the flight, she took off from Newfoundland in this red Lockheed Vega, sleek, fast, but still a beast to handle alone. Right from the start, things got tough. Ice started forming on the wings. The plane kept getting tossed around like a toy in a washing machine. Her altimeter broke, so she couldn't even tell how high she was flying. And at one point, she nearly crashed into the ocean trying to shake the ice off. Most people would have turned back, but not Amelia. She stayed calm, adjusted where she could, and kept going. Hour after hour, through freezing winds and pitch-black skies, just trusting her instincts and the sound of that engine. And finally, after more than 14 hours in the air, she spotted land. She didn't end up in Paris like she'd planned. Weather forced her off course, and she landed in a cow field in Northern Ireland instead. Amelia climbed out, smiled, totally calm. Like she'd just walked down the street instead of flying across an ocean. That flight made history. She became the first woman, and the second person ever after Charles Lindbergh, to fly solo across the Atlantic. And this time, it wasn't just about being part of a story. She was the story. But even then, Amelia didn't act like she was a big deal. She gave credit to her plane, her team, her luck. She answered questions, signed a few autographs, but then, she went right back to flying. Now that she'd flown solo across the Atlantic, she knew the sky had even more to offer. She wasn't done. Not even close. Because she wasn't just talking about flying anymore. She was talking about possibility, especially for women. See, back then, women were still being told what they could and couldn't do. Stay home. Be proper. Don't take risks. But Amelia had already blown past all that. She wasn't loud about it, but she was clear. Women could be anything. Pilots, engineers, adventurers, whatever. They just needed the chance. So, she started showing up everywhere. Schools, clubs, newspapers, talking about flying, yes, but also about courage. About chasing dreams that scared you. She encouraged women to step up, speak up, show up, even when it felt impossible. And the best part? She backed it up with action. She kept flying, setting record after record. She flew from Hawaii to California, the first person to do it. She set speed records, altitude records, distance records. Sometimes, it felt like the sky was just a checklist she was determined to finish. And in between all that, she wrote books. She gave speeches. She co-founded an organization called the 99s, a group for women pilots who wanted to support each other and grow in aviation. Because that's how Amelia thought. She didn't want to be the only one doing something big, she wanted everyone to feel like they could. She also had this solid relationship with George Putnam, her publisher, friend, and eventually her husband. But their relationship wasn't typical for the time. Amelia made it clear from the start, she wasn't giving up her name, her career, or her independence. And George? He respected that. They supported each other like teammates. No pressure to fit into a box. By 1937, Amelia had done more than most people could even dream of. She had records, fame, respect, and this steady fire in her chest that just wouldn't go out. But she wasn't done. She started planning the biggest flight of her life, literally. She wanted to fly around the world. It was an insane idea. The world was a very different place back then, maps weren't always right, weather reports were shaky, and some parts of the planet barely had airstrips. But Amelia wasn't the type to back down from a challenge. Not now. She got a brand new plane, a Lockheed Electra. Sleek, powerful, and fast. She brought along a skilled navigator named Fred Noonan. The plan was to take off from California, fly east, and hop around the globe like skipping stones across the ocean. And they almost made it. They covered thousands of miles, Africa, India, Southeast Asia, Australia, all the way to New Guinea. The last stretch was the hardest, from New Guinea to a tiny island in the Pacific called Howland Island. It was just a speck in the ocean, easy to miss, even on a good day. And July 2, 1937, wasn't a good day. They took off in the early morning. Clouds were thick. Radio signals were acting up. The closer they got, the quieter things became. The last transmission anyone heard from Amelia was, off. She sounded calm, but confused, said they couldn't find the island. They were running low on fuel. And then, nothing, just silence. The world waited. Hours passed. Then days. The U.S. Navy searched the waters, scanned the skies, pored over maps. But Amelia and Fred, they were just gone. No crash site. No wreckage. No goodbye. And that's where her story turns into legend. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened. Some think they crashed in the ocean. Others say they landed on a remote island and survived for a while. People have searched, guessed, obsessed, but the truth? Still missing. But here's the thing, Amelia Earhart didn't disappear because she got lost. She disappeared because she was chasing something bigger than most people ever even try. And maybe that's the part of her story that really sticks with people. Not just the mystery of how it ended, but the courage of how she lived. Always reaching, always flying into the unknown, never waiting for permission to be extraordinary. She once said, "Adventure is worthwhile in itself," and she lived like she believed it, every single day. Even now, all these years later, when we talk about breaking barriers or following dreams or doing the impossible, we still talk about her. Because Amelia didn't just fly planes. She flew straight into history. And she never looked back.